3. That's a magic number. Yes, it is. It's the magic number.
What does it all mean?
Hello and welcome to Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy. That's me, Matthew Syed. We have some, wait for it, meaty topics this week, including intelligence in sport. Rob's got a lot to say about that. Why do England football team underperform? And what rules would you change to make sport more exciting? As always, a big thank you to everyone who's got in touch through the week using the hashtag FredSavSide. But before we get going, let's find out what we've all been doing over the past week. Robbie, you're smiling there.
Oh, no, I'm just more interested in what Freddie's been doing. Okay. I'm looking forward to that. Quiet week, Matthew. Quiet week. Actually, sat down yesterday.
Wow,
father.
It's
going to be a good one, this, isn't it? Going to be a good podcast, this.
Father-in-law was over, had Sunday dinner with his grandchildren. I was sitting with my wife. And first time ever, my wife sat on the sofa with me and watched the Grand Prix, the Canadian Grand Prix. And it was a very funny...
Have you got nothing better to do with your Sunday?
No,
you got nothing better to do than
watch the Keel.
I went in the gym. It was,
you watched the Grand Prix. You bet your missus show her a good time, don't you, Rob? Come on, Sarah, let's sit down and watch some men drive cars around the track. Oh, my word.
Hey, great day of sport, Matthew. Great day of sport. We had the French Open. That was
the
French
fantastic.
Open. We had the Canadian Grand Prix.
Yep.
We had Wales, Serbia. What a day to be on the sofa, glass of red wine, have my 2 French bulldogs next to me, and my wife. How does it get any better than that?
I'll be honest with you, Rob. A Sunday like that would probably turn me back to drink. It sounds like a shocking day. You've started off with... what did you start with? Grand Prix, tennis, and Wales playing football.
No, the tennis was magnificent. I thought. Did you see any of
Matthew,
that?
What
do you think?
Anyway, my wife, so she's watching the TV, and she goes on all these online stuff when newspapers write, and she loves all that online stuff. And she's seen a guy on the telly, and it was Christian Horner. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Red Bull
married to Ginger Spice.
So anyway, my wife says, "Oh, that guy's married to Jerry Horner, isn't she?" I went, "Yeah." She went, "What was his name before they got married?"
No.
And she did. And there's the punchline. There it is. I
tell you what, now I see why you two are together. I see what the attractions are.
What?
Well, you're not the brightest, are you?
Not too bad.
It's quite an apt subject, this.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We're going to come back to that. Fred, so I'm anticipating a lot here, given that Freddie...
Well, no, I've had a busy week. Mm-hmm. I've had a busy week. I've had one or two things to do this week. I got married this week.
Ooh.
I got married at Dewsbury Town Hall and then had the reception at Kirkstall Abbey.
Little acting role
in a BBC drama.
BBC One?
BBC One, yeah.
You're acting in a BBC One drama.
Oh, I get over it, Matthew.
I'd use the word acting loosely.
Why do you use it loosely?
I don't know. I've seen.
Why? No, don't be. Come on.
I've seen Pacino and Bert.
Pacino and Bert, that'll be out soon. Pacino and Bert, a little short film we've discussed before. But I got married this week. It was really weird, to be honest, because I had to do one at the town hall and then at Kirkstall Abbey. So I'm stood at the front, and then there's people there, and you only want to get married once, and I've done this. And then doing it for the second time, knowing that I'm very happily married, looking at people in an audience I don't know, while a girl called Amy Beth Ayres walks down the aisle.
Being a Mr. Selfridge.
Yeah, Mr. Selfridge. She's a good actress. And she was walking down the aisle, and it was one of the most weirdest things I've ever done. It was strange.
And so there were lights. When you're acting in that kind of a scene, lights to make sure that you're...
It wasn't in the dark. It was daylight, yeah.
Do they kind of do you have is it a lapel mic that's hidden, or do they hold a handheld mic?
There's everything everywhere. There's booms hanging on down, and then I've got my mic on.
Wow.
Makeup, had my hair done. I had tails on and a tie and everything.
So you got married?
I did, yeah.
So...
What?
The thing I want to know.
No, I know where you're going with this, Robbie.
Did you kiss her?
Oh, that's what I want to know.
Whoa.
Did you kiss her bride?
What do you think this film is?
No, but
it's not unusual to kiss somebody after a wedding ceremony, is it?
Well, not if it's not your wife. It's not my wife. It's acting.
There's no mouth-on-mouth action in this particular scene.
Why have you brought it down to this?
Because we discussed it on a previous podcast, and you said that your wife might have a problem with that.
There was a peck.
What?
A little peck.
Ooh.
That wasn't a peck.
It was a peck.
You showed me on you. Remember you?
Oh, you're just causing trouble, Robbie Savage. You know why he's doing this? You know why Robbie's doing
Go on.
this? I tell you why. Because today, Robbie Savage had a realisation in the gym that he's losing his hair.
I'm not.
Right?
Yeah.
Robbie Savage.
Join
who
the
is,
club,
look
Roberto.
at him. This is karma for all the nonsense he's give you about your shiny bald head. Because if you look at Robbie Savage, look at that receding hairline. He's going to be on the phone to Michael Vaughan later saying, Michael, can you hook me up at this studio where the hair grows back for 18 months and I'm going to do it again?
Anyway, back to
You're going
Freddie.
bold, Robbie. You're going
Leave
bold.
that in, Mike.
Are you
Leave that in.
finding it takes longer to wash your forehead? Because it is getting bigger. You're going to have to get extra Botox on that.
So we were in the gym this week and asked Freddie the question, did you kiss the bride? And obviously, do you know what he done? Remember when you were in school and you'd never kissed a girl before and you used to practice on your hand? He
No, I
showed
don't
me.
remember that, Rob. Did
He
no,
was-
you
He was
did.
kissing his hands. He said.
Is that true?
This is fabrication.
Oh, dear, oh, dear.
Fabrication. No, I had some on the back of my hand I licked off. I had a bit of brown sauce for my breakfast on the back of my hand. I was getting it off. You're a knob, you. You're a knob.
Do you have to discuss it with the person that you...
Discuss
gonna
what?
kiss?
There's nothing
No,
happened.
but,
What discuss what?
Well, how the kiss is going to take place, how you manage to do it without making it too intimate. You want to move on from this, don't you?
I'm on the ropes here. I'm on the ropes, Matthew Syed.
First time in the
I was going to
podcast.
ask you what you've done this week. I'm not interested. I just want to change the subject.
It's not an ear bath, doing it?
It's
Yeah,
lovely.
calm down.
Like a sauna.
Right, Baldy. Talking to you, Rob.
Should we move on to the first topic?
Matthew, what have you done? Quickly.
Well, I'm conscious that every single time I've ever told either of you what I've done on the previous week, there is one single response, which is...
What have you done?
So, I'll tell you, I'll pick up on something you said about what you did yesterday on Sunday. I watched the Nadal-Wawrinka final. I thought
I'm with
that
you.
Nadal... I've got to tell
Unbelievable,
you,
isn't it?
Nadal, he didn't win a Grand Slam for, 3 years? And I wondered if he'd ever have the capacity to do so again after all the
Decima.
injuries.
La Decima now.
Decima. What a player. Incredible versatility, mental strength, resilience. Wawrinka was in good form coming to the fight. I thought Nadal was fantastic. Fred looks as if he's going to fall asleep. But how good was that final?
Unbelievable. Brilliant.
Decima.
La Decima.
10 French Open.
10 French Opens, Fred. 10 French Opens.
Well, he's won them.
Yeah.
Never heard of him.
Who?
Yeah.
Dessa. I haven't.
And he's... Well, we did intelligence in sport. There we go.
It's coming up. But first topic, on England. On Saturday, 2-2 against Scotland. Managed to get that draw by the skin of their teeth. A goal by Harry Kane in extra time. The under-20s, let's be fair, they've just won the World Cup. But if you look at the senior men's team, they haven't won a major trophy, haven't got to a final since 1966. So why, one of the biggest questions in sport, why do the England football team consistently underperform? Freddie.
That's my subject, because you hear about them all the time. They go into these tournaments and everyone's saying they're going to do this, that and the other.
Golden generation.
Oh, my word. And then they get to the semi-final. What was that one? Italy.
Yep.
And they come back like they're heroes. You got to the semi-final, you've won nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know, Robbie, you're into your football. I saw a little bit of the Scotland match on Saturday, and for me, it was rubbish. It was absolute rubbish. It really was. It was boring. I know there's a few goals at the end, but there was nothing suggesting the magnitude of that game. I'm not having a go at the Scotland lads here because I think they did. From the English lads, I don't get it.
But you know when you pull on an England cricket shirt or an England table tennis shirt, the England cricket team perform, don't they? Mm-hmm. You would say the England rugby team have performed, winning the World Cup with Johnny Wilkinson's drop goal. Mm-hmm. You would say the only team with the most outstanding league in the world, the Premier League, the national team seem to crumble when they put on that England shirt. The cricketers don't. The rugby players don't. Why do you think?
So I think it's worth saying that there is a schism there.
A
that
what?
the England there is a divergence between how well
That's no more help for them, is it?
Let me rephrase it. There's a difference between how well the England players perform for their club sides. We've had players win Champions League trophies and all sorts of other things, and how well they play for the national side. Now, Freddie, you're intimating the reason for this is they don't try as hard for the national team.
I don't know if it's not trying. There's something wrong, because I watched England on Saturday play against Australia in a one-day international. And I saw Ben Stokes, I saw Owen Morgan, who's not necessarily English in some ways, he's an Irish lad. But I see these lads improving all the time. Over a period of time, they've got better and better and better. And you see what it means to them when they're playing for England. You see how much value they put on the wicket. Yeah. They don't want to get out. They don't want to give anything away. And then I flick over, I turn football on, and it seems a bit of an effort to kick the ball. It's like, come on, lads.
Yeah, I think England have only won 6 knockout games since 1966. Right?
Stan's been working hard.
In major tournaments. They beat Paraguay, Belgium, Cameroon, Spain, Denmark and Ecuador. That is a shocking record. Is there still an arrogance, do you think, from former footballers, from a bit of the media, that overhyping? England under-20s won the World Cup.
And I saw that, but has that always been the case where the junior sides do well?
Well, not necessarily, Fred, do they, Matthew? No. Not necessarily, Fred. And I'm going to say Danny Mills. I watched the football yesterday on BBC with Mark Chapman, Trevor Sinclair and Danny Mills. And this, for me, I think, sums up the arrogance of ex-England players, of the English media possibly. So Danny Mills said, right, so five of England's triumphant squad at the under-20 level can still qualify to play for Nigeria at senior level, But Danny Mills said, if you've got the opportunity to play for England, you've got to take it. Ultimately, the qualify...
Is this how he's been? Is this how he said it? Are you doing an impression of Danny Mills? Can he not get his words out neither?
I'm reading it.
He's a terrible commentator, isn't he, Mills?
So listen. So he
said, just start that one again.
So he said, if you've got the opportunity to play for England, you've got to take it. Ultimately, the quality of England for me outweighs the chances you have for Nigeria. OK, you might go to the Africa Cup of Nations, you might pick up a medal there. But in terms of competition that really matters on the world stage, the Europeans, the World Cup, England would be your first point of call. I think that's completely and utterly an arrogance to say, why, if they want to play for Nigeria and win an African Cup of Nations, why wouldn't they? Why?
Well, that's like the European Cup for an English player, isn't it? It's just as big. If you're African playing African Cup of Nations,
I mean, frankly, you should play for the country that you feel a strongest identification with. I could have played for Pakistan, India, Wales, or England in table tennis. I felt an emotional connection with England. That's why I wanted to play for England. But let me just throw this in.
It's been easier to play for Wales, though, wouldn't it?
It would have been slightly easier to play for.
But if you'd got to a semi-final, you've had an open-top bus tour. That's how it goes, isn't it? Celebrate mediocrity.
I think that... I was Welsh, right? You might not know that. I was Welsh,
really?
Born and bred in Wales. And years ago, when you seen the England lads going off to play for England, you're thinking, if I had been English, do I think I would have got an England squad? That's what I would have thought before.
And you would have concluded no. You weren't good enough.
Oh. Look at that look.
Look at that dagger.
Anyway, Andrew. But now, I don't think you think that anymore, because what have England actually achieved? Qualifying, great. They're unbeaten the last 35 qualifiers.
Yeah, but who are they playing in these qualifiers? Who are these people?
It's a very good point.
But
I've never watched a good qualifier in my life.
But I think this gives us the answer, or gets to the nub of the answer as to why England underperform. They win in the qualification matches. It's when they're on the biggest stage of all, knockout competitions, the major events. That's when they fall apart. I don't think it's because they're not trying hard enough. I think that they're intimidated and cowed by the pressure, the national expectation, the idea that if they lose, if they miss that penalty, they will be the scapegoat. They'll be on the back.
Fear of failure.
Fear of failure.
The French will, the Spanish will. Look at the
Okay, I'll come back to that. I'm going to come back to that.
Marker.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would hammer the Spanish.
No, I agree.
The French paper is called what?
Well, L'Equipe.
La France.
L'Equipe would hammer the French. The German papers?
Yeah, but okay.
They'd hammer the German side.
Let's rewind to that. But would you agree that when you watch England playing against Iceland at the Euros, they froze? They froze. When they went a goal down, they froze. That. Yeah, just like it. Against Algeria at the World Cup in Cape Town.
That's the best thing you've ever said. Just leave it there, Matthew. Walk out now. Go home.
I'm stopping.
Yeah, but
I'm pleased with
they froze. Hey,
did it? But
and look at the collective meltdown at the World Cup in 2010. Again and again, what I think I see is footballers who have great capacity, who are pretty skilled, who, if they were playing to their full potential, might be able to get to the later stages of a major competition, have a better track record in knockout matches, rather than the one that you read out a minute ago, Rob. But instead, they're falling apart. I think the cliche that they don't care about England...
That's nonsense.
It's nonsense.
Yeah.
And it's subverted by the emotions that you see on their faces when they're trudging off at the end of a game that they've just lost. So I think what we need is a change in the way that these players are trained and equipped psychologically to deal with the pressure on the ground stage. Freddie, last week, talked about playing in the Ashes. He loved it. He stepped up. He would be in the dressing room. He would see certain people who were likely to be crumbly. He could see that in their body language. You can see that in the England football team.
Do you think in football, then? Do you think with England... Listen, I'm with you two as well. It's nonsense. They don't care. They don't try. Of course they do. Of course they want to do their best. But in the cricket, Fred, you know, if you're playing for Lancashire, Yorkshire, Durham, Surrey, Sussex, you know, when you met up, was there cliques? Was there people going in corners in their groups? You know, because football's so tribal, Liverpool, Manchester United, Man City, and you're with your mates. And maybe when I play for Wales, it happened at times where you were, you know, there was little cliques when you go for dinner. Would that happen in cricket?
No.
At all?
Not there would be cliques, but that's just more human nature. But there's not going to be a clique because you're a Surrey player, I'm a Lancashire player, or nobody cares. You're playing for England. This is the pinnacle of your career. And I reckon, off the top of my head, I've got a couple of reasons why England underperform.
Oh.
One is, first,
that's a long way.
How many clubs have you played for? I choose not to acknowledge it. How many clubs did you play for?
7, I think it was.
Oh, there you go, 7 clubs. So you don't really care about any of them. And this is the problem. This is the problem with football. You don't nail your allegiance to one club. You don't know what it's like to be loyal. They don't know what it's like to play for the badge. They jump on a lion's back for an extra £5. You don't get that playing with England. The other thing, which I'm just thinking about now off the top of my head, I'm going to relate the English football team to the under-13 cricket team I coach. Mm-hmm. All right? For the simple reason, I coach at Oldley a very good group of lads. And it dawned on me in the past 2 games, these lads have never experienced sides pushing back at them, sides getting on top of them, sides nearly beating them. When these kids, and it's a learning curve for them, when these kids are on top of a side, are winning, they're cock-a-hoop, they're everywhere, they've got a lot of energy, there's a lot of encouragement, everybody wants to get involved in the game. As soon as the sides start pushing back and getting on top of them, because they've never experienced it, they retract. They don't do much. They hide a little bit because they don't know what to do. It's not a slur on them. They've not experienced it. And I'm going to put it to footballers in this, from being young kids, they're taking on, the bulk of England players are at the big clubs. There's no adversity. They play against teams, they play against with some of the best players in the world from all around the world and be part of a sides who win all the time. That's why I think Man City have struggled with recent sides. Sides have pushed back against them, and United. And I think with England, they turn up to these games, if it's easy or if they get on a roll of doing well, they'll walk over teams. But teams push back. When they get pushed their buttons, they've not experienced this before and they don't know what to do. And it seems to me what they are doing is crumbling.
And I think that there's a lot to be blamed on coaching for this. I mean, you coach a cricket team. I think we should give players more responsibility. In football, it's like the coach is a sergeant major, the general, who tells them what the tactics are, how they're going to train, how long they're going to train, if they're injured, what the rehabilitation's going to look like. The players are spoon-fed. When they have to do their studies, they have a private tutor come in and everything is laid out on a plate. And they're not developing as human beings, as leaders. They're not developing those human qualities that you're describing that enable you, under pressure, to adapt and to step up. I think we need much more human training in football so that these people can develop as characters and not just as footballers, because you need character when you're under pressure on the big stage, Robbie.
I look at Wales and...
Do you?
I'm going to come there and smash your head in a minute.
What kind of whales?
Well, whales.
Killer whales.
Blue whales.
Oh.
But looking at the England team, right? Majority, or everyone.
You look at Wales. Why are we looking at them?
Listen, play in the Premier League.
Put them off.
Play for the big clubs. Yeah. Wales went to the Euros. Could you name half the Wales side? Could you name any of the Wales side?
I couldn't name half the England team, to be honest. It's a bad.
Yeah. But could you, Matthew?
There's one that I've never heard of him for England.
Well, funnily enough, they've probably got, one star player.
Well,
and yet they were good as a team, is the point you're making.
The team spirit, the togetherness.
That's a good point.
Fighting against adversity. Yeah, nobody expected them to do well, but they had this. They have fun when they're together. Maybe that's because the press get behind. Is this analogy of the press being against the English national team?
The press are responsive. The press respond to what they are seeing. Mm-hmm. If they do well, they've got to write them do well. All right, it might be an harder article to write, but if they do badly, that's what else are you going to write about? But getting back to Wales with team spirit, I'd imagine, but you will probably correct me on this, a lot of the Welsh footballers don't play top flight football.
You would say, yeah, there's a few that don't know. So you've got Chris Gunter, who's become the third most capped Welsh player, I think, has got 79, 80 caps, plays for Reading in the Championship. You've got Sam Vokes, who plays for Burnley. You know, they've got Ramsey and Allen. They've got obviously the star man Gareth Bale. You know, Ledley, Chris. You would say the majority of the squad is Premier League, but not regulars in a top side.
What I'm saying is these lads have had experience of the game from every angle. They've had success, they've had adversity, and all that coming together has got to help when you're going into these big fixtures where the England lads, to me, don't feel like they've experienced any of that.
Was there a magic ingredient when you won the Ashes that time, when it lifted the nation? There seemed to be an incredible chemistry within the team, or was that a consequence of your success rather than a cause of it?
I reckon as a team it started 3-4 years previous, where we kept building up. And to play Australia in 2005 was the correct time for us to play them. We were a young side. We'd beaten everyone in the world. The final hurdle was Australia. And that's the only side we had left to beat. I'm not quite sure. Well, I am sure. When we turned up, we probably didn't think we could beat them, but we thought, you know what, we'll have a go.
It's one of the best Australian sides in history.
But we'll have a go, you know. And then you look at it and you think, well, it's going to be hard at times. Of course it is. They're going to get on top of us at times. But coming from a cricket background, you've had the hard times. You've experienced it before. Our biggest skill as a side, we used to call bounce back ability. If we got beat, we'd come back 10 times stronger the next game. And I don't see that really, the football.
You know, do those players, Matthew, so the England players, from a psychology point of view, do you think, as good as they are, and as Freddie's alluded to, they all play for top teams and will have the coach of the football clubs, Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, Jose Mourinho, top coaches, Conte at Chelsea, will coach these players from week to week. When they go with England, and they've had in recent times Steve McLaren, Roy Hodgson, now they've got Gareth Southgate. Those players, when they get together, won't need coaching, will they? They'll just need organising.
Yeah, and look, let's be honest. Mourinho, Conte, the Premier League coaches are not developing very much the technical skills of their players because technical skills take years to develop. I mean, that happens between the ages of 6 and 20. It's not suddenly Conte come in and suddenly you're able to play two-footed football or you're able to header the ball that you haven't practiced for. They make tactical changes and psychological changes. I wonder, I'll throw this your way, Robbie. In the 70s and 80s and 90s, a lot of young people in England were playing on full-size pitches, which meant that if you wanted to win at youth football, you hoofed it up to a tall front man who tried to head it into the net. In Spain, in Brazil, and in other countries, they were playing on smaller, tighter pitches, which rewarded technical skill, perceptual awareness. And I wonder if that has had an impact, a long-term impact on the development of English football.
But you look at the players who are playing for England and you say technical abilities.
Some of them.
Unbelievable.
Sure.
But surely...
Not all of them, though, Fred. Not compared to Spain.
Yeah, but you look at the Premier League, and they say it's the strongest league in the world, but it's not serving the England team particularly well.
Yeah.
And then you relate it to cricket. If I was in charge of cricket, for the good of the national team, I would have every captain of the 18 counties eligible to play for England. Has to be an Englishman who's playing for England. So all of a sudden, England are picking from 18 players. One of the problems we've had with spin bowlers over the years is we can't really find spin bowlers. So every spinner who plays for a county has to be English qualified.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, you've got 18 spinners you're choosing from. So more and more English players, not these Kolpaks, we're in football. Well, you've had sides fielded with not one English player.
Will any of these under-20s actually get Premier League first-team action?
Well, I'm going back to not this under-20 squad that won the World Cup, but the England under-20 squad in the last World Cup. And the players from that side, the key names that stand out, John Stones, James Ward-Prowse, Harry Kane, Eric Dyer, John Flanagan, Ross Barkley. So very, very good players there, who've gone on to be, John Stones, £50 million. So it just goes to show, if you do well for the 20, you can go forward and have a fantastic career. Looking at that squad now, who's just won it. Looking at the names, Freddie Woodman, who saved that penalty, he's at Newcastle, doesn't play regular football. The majority of that side that's won the tournament, you've got Luckman, was 11 million quid, join Everton. Does he play regular football? No. I'm just going through it now. Josh Onomar, Spurs, doesn't play regular. Lewis Cook at Bournemouth probably does. Adam Armstrong at Newcastle. He's been on loan at Barnsley, doesn't play regular football for Newcastle. So Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who scored the winning goal in the World Cup final, doesn't play regular. So how many of those players now will get an opportunity to play regular in the first team of their clubs, the top clubs? Well, they'll just go and buy somebody.
But that's a structural problem about the relationship between the FA and the Premier League. The Premier League clubs are only interested in winning, and if they can buy in a cheap or a reasonably priced foreign player who can add to the team, they're not going to bring the youth through, because managers' time horizons in the Premier League, it's only 6 months.
I've seen now from a Welsh perspective, and listen, I'm one of these people that if England play or Northern Ireland play or Scotland play or Republic of Ireland play, I want them to do well. I really do. And I was delighted that they won the World Cup in the 20s, but everybody seems to be jumping on the bandwagon and saying, this under-20 squad, in the future they'll be brilliant, but it doesn't necessarily relate to doing well for the senior national team.
But in another way, them lads who you just mentioned, who don't play regular football, there's got to be a hunger from them lads to perform well for the under-20s. That could be career-changing for a lot of them lads. So what is the attitude like when you go from club to country? Is there that hunger when you're a senior player? Is it there? Did he turn up? Did he get the phone call and think, oh my word, I've got to go to Scotland on Saturday, play against them? Or is it like, I'm playing against Scotland on Sunday? A bit of acting there. I did 2 different versions. But is that what it's like? I don't know, because
look, I've got to tell you, in table tennis, England was the pinnacle. I think England was the pinnacle in football for English players until recently. But now I'm not. What do you think, Robbie?
I think Premier League football and the rewards and the, I would say, and this might be a controversial thing, would you say the Champions League has more quality than the World Cup?
Yeah, probably in depth. But I would still think winning the World Cup probably is the peak.
Probably, yes, probably. But I think the only time, Fred, for me that happened was at this stage of the season. The Wales squads were announced. You've got 8 weeks off in the summer.
But how did you feel when you got the phone call saying, Rob, you're off to Azerbaijan to play against them or something? How did you feel? When
it was the qualifiers, great, brilliant. But in the summer, I remember getting a phone call. We were going to Egypt and Tunisia, and it was going to be a 2-week trip. I had the phone call and I thought, wow, I don't want to go. I want to spend time with my family and be at home.
Wow.
So, really?
Yeah.
You're at home all winter. Yeah. 2 weeks. Now, you used to go away for 3.5 months.
You've had a long, hard season.
Oh, you poor thing. Yeah. What do you mean a long, hard season?
But seriously, the pressures.
By your own admission, you didn't touch the ball in your best games. What do you mean an hard season?
The mental strength of keeping teams in the Premier League.
90 minutes a week.
Yeah.
90 minutes.
Yeah. But listen, when you get a phone call at the end of a long, hard season, all you want to do is go and put your feet up on the beach with your family, with your kids. The last thing I wanted to be doing was to be going to play 2 meaningless friendlies. Yeah. Away
They're not
from
meaningless. You're playing for Wales. You're from Wrexham.
Don't care.
How can it be meaningless? How can you put on that jersey, walk out with the badge, have them all singing Bread of Heaven, and it means absolutely nothing to how you sooner be on a beach than play in front of 40,000 people. The thing that you, by your own admission, said you wanted to do as a child, the sacrifices you've spoken about, not losing your virginity to 25 because of football, and now you're saying it's meaningless. You had it in the wrapper all them years, and now you're saying it's meaningless.
You in a mood today?
I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Listen. It's a great point, Robbie. What? You're a proud Welshman. You've been building up to this day.
Baldy.
And then How can you not want to be
That's a
there?
bit rich as well.
Listen,
Come on, contradiction.
This podcast is all about being honest.
It is.
And
Oh,
at the end
and
of
by the
season,
honesty,
at
salute
the end
the
of the
honesty.
season, when I got that phone call to say, you're in the squad, I used to go home and think, I'm just going to phone up and I'm going to say, I've torn my hamstring or I'm injured. Or I phone the club up and say, Gaffer, do us a favour, just say I'm not available.
Bad idea.
Does that happens?
Well, I don't know. It happened to me. I've asked the gaffers at times. At the end of the season only,
interesting. That's really
I'd rather my body recover because my thought process
I
was.
spent my career pretending I wasn't injured.
But at the end of the season, my thought process was right. I've got to be as fresh as I can. To start the season with my football club because they'll buy players, and if I get injured,
You probably didn't even know who your club was. You'd have been moving anyway.
my thought process, Fred. If I go away,
do you get a map and then just that's where I'm going.
So
I'm going there. Just close your eyes and put a stick in it.
if I got injured then in those meaningless friendlies in the season,
They're not meaningless.
they
You're playing for
were
Wales.
me.
So you're thinking to yourself, I've got a limited career. I want to provide for my family. If I play these friendlies, my body might break down. It's a long season.
Yeah.
I
At the
kind
end of the
accept
season,
that to a certain
Matthew.
extent. Robbie, how this is? Look, let me just say, you're taking a bit of a dig here, but the honesty is incredible. How common would it be, do you think, for first team players to say, you know what, say to the physio or to the first team manager, you know what, I've got a bit of a pull here.
I think
haven't really, but tell the national
I'm only
team.
speaking from my perspective, and I don't know what other players done, but I would say for me. I've had a 38-game season. I've played internationals in that season, or 50-game season.
How did you feel about the internationals during the
I
season?
couldn't wait to go. I was the first there, drive there first there, because they were internationals that had something on them.
I mean, actually, Ferguson used to pull Manchester United players out all the time. I mean, I know I'm mentioning Alex Ferguson again, but he did. And the allegation was they're not really injured. What you're saying, I mean, maybe this, in a funny kind of way, contradicts a bit of what we were saying earlier, that we were saying these England players really want it, that they're passionate about playing for their country. They probably are, but it looks to me as if maybe there's a slight edge that is lacking.
You know what? I was going back to the point earlier when you two rudely interrupted me and had a go at me once again on this podcast about the managers. When I'm saying, will they need coaching? They need organising. Some of the tactical decisions I seen in the Euros from Roy Hodgson when he played a weaker side in a game, which if they won, they would have won the group. Do you remember? But Wales won the group and had an easier run. And obviously, listen, England lost to Iceland, which was nonsense. And then he brought Rashford on with 5 minutes to go when he was the best player in the park. So would you say that those group of players have gone out there and done their best, but the managers have had no leadership?
I think you can't. Look at the managers that they've had for the England team. Ron Greenwood. Then they said, we need to have something. They had Keegan, McLaren, Capello, one of the most highly regarded managers in the world, Ericsson, Hodgson.
Why have they all failed?
Right, the reason they've all failed is there's some underlying psychological problem with the England players, which we're trying to get to the nub of here. And I think it is actually quite difficult to do so because, on the one hand, we've said at the beginning, they want to play well. They're passionate. And now we're saying maybe there is an edge that is lacking for some players some of the time. And to be fair, you're saying it's only those friendlies at the end of the season that you don't want to play. Yeah, exactly. I still think that there is look at the penalty taking of the England players. That indicates that the capacity to do what some of the cricketers do so well, which is perform to the highest ability under pressure, is something that the England footballers are struggling to do. And it is a consistent theme. It probably isn't just the fact that they get vilified when they lose, because you're right. In Spain, in Italy, in South America, people who lose get absolutely hammered.
Let me ask you this question then. And correct me if I'm wrong, but in table tennis, you said the pinnacle was to play for England. In cricket, the pinnacle was to play for England. Yeah. In rugby union, you would say the pinnacle is to play for England.
It's all international.
Yeah. In football, would you say the pinnacle is playing for Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, week in, week out, and trying to win the Champions League, where the money is greater? Because in cricket, playing for Surrey or for Lancashire, the
money's greater playing for England. You get paid for England.
There you go. So in cricket and I don't know if rugby union, the incentives playing for your country is probably more than playing for your club side. In football, the incentives, money-wise, is playing for your club, not your country. Is that not a good point?
But I question motive a little bit. Everyone talks about the clubs that they played for or grew up watching as kids, or the places that they grew up and they wanted to play for that team. But then they get a better offer and they nip off somewhere else. So for me, the motives to why people play for clubs is purely money. It's the highest bidder. And then they go and play for the country. Then a bit mixed up. It's, well, we're not getting paid here. You know, playing for England, that should be the pinnacle. That's the one time you get to represent that country, that place that hopefully means so much to you in a sporting thing, not playing for your club. I just can't get my head around it. I will agree with you a little bit on playing some international games.
That's nice.
Because I
That's nice, yeah. Thanks.
I played,
First.
but like pre-season, we used to play against Scotland, which was a bit of a chore, to be honest, because you go up to Scotland and
In cricket?
yeah, then you play at the Grange, and it's just a day out for the Scots, just to vent anger at the English, and you play, and it's a bit of a banana skin. But the only thing which I didn't want, this is why I wanted to play every game, was because irrespective of who's it against, whether it's a friendly, whether it's a proper game, I did not want anyone to have a chance at taking my position. That was my position. I played, and I'd earned that spot.
Yep.
And I'm not going to feign injury, and I'm not going to say I don't fancy it. I'm not going to play it and give somebody else a go to bowl first change, bat number 6 or 5 in a one day and do what I do. That's my job. So that's one of the reasons that.
Here's another for you. I'm just coming to a question at you two because you are both a lot cleverer than me. So in terms of Fred, in terms of playing, I'm just trying to get to the end of this debate and figure out why England, with all the superstars they got and all the great players they had over the course of the years, have only won 6 games since 1966, which is unbelievable.
It's mind-boggling.
So in cricket, you are. I'm saying you because you're here, Freddie Flintoff, because everybody recognised you from England, the England national team. Yeah.
Yeah.
The players who never played for England but aspired to, so for Surrey, for Lancashire, for Yorkshire, those players, unless they played in their national team, nobody would know who they were, would they? Unless you are really into cricket.
Cricket alerts.
Yeah, cricket, but in terms of the general public. With footballers, you try and play for England, yeah? If you're not good enough, you'll still be a household name because of the Premier League.
That's true.
Yeah? So is the aspirations of cricketers to play for the national team the be-all and end-all because the financial reward and because
this is what I tried to say a second ago but didn't put it across particularly well.
Yeah, I thought that.
Was the motive behind trying to play for England. If your motive to play, for me, was never, someone might recognise me in the street
I'm just
or
saying,
become
I'm
an
just trying to work
household
it
name.
out.
My motive was, I want to play for England. I want to play for Lancashire.
I'm sure these footballers do. Of course they do.
It was never, well, if I don't play for England, they're not going to recognise me in Morrison's. It's
but I'm just trying to.
I wanted to play. That was first and foremost. Everything else just is a byproduct of it.
Yeah, because growing up, my first aim as a kid was to play for Liverpool or Manchester United, or play Premier League football at the time.
But did you not see that as a stepping stone to playing international?
And then if international accolades come, that was brilliant. That was amazing.
Because I went to play for England and Lancashire. But Lancashire is a stepping stone to playing for England.
Yeah, but growing up first...
So why do footballers... This is playing club football for United or City. Obviously, you want to do well and perform and win things. But the obvious difference is that isn't a stepping stone, it seems, or either players think about it, to playing for the national side.
I'll tell you, I think listening to this discussion, I think we've gone
Proper
through
discussion.
We've gone through all of the usual suspects and we've deconstructed them. We've had some really interesting insight from you about getting the phone call to play for the national team. Sometimes when you're desperate to do so during a season, the irrelevant friendlies, not so much. I think we should do a poll on #FredSavSide and throw it out there, see what the public think. Is it to do with the incentives? Is it some structural problem with the Premier League where young English players are not getting a chance? The lack of a winter break, another structural problem in the Premier League? Is it some abiding psychological deficiency of the kind that I happen to lean towards? Is it something to do with the coaching? What if
it's something just very simple?
Go on.
We're not that good.
Yeah. Part of it.
But why? Because
we can't be because we've not been for years.
But they should be. They've got everything there. They've got the best facilities at their clubs. Yeah. They've got the best nutrition. They've got everything.
And they've got
everything.
Well, it's fine. You can have someone telling you what to eat, but if you can't kick it straight, you're struggling.
Yeah, but United won the Champions League. with a majority of English players. And was it a majority in '99 when they won?
A few, yeah,
Beckham,
wasn't it?
Scholes.
Yeah.
Actually, Scholes didn't make the final, did he? Next topic.
That was a heavy topic,
Oh,
that.
we did it there.
BBC 5 Live.
911, where's your emergency?
1810 Cedar Street, please.
What's wrong?
My wife had an accident. She's still breathing.
What kind of accident?
Fell down the stairs.
Beyond Reasonable Doubt. The programme, the podcast. Coming soon from 5 Live.
BBC
Radio 5 Live.
5 Live.
So this is yours, Rob.
Oh, here we go.
What
Bit of
rule?
intelligence.
I've got to tell you, I love this topic. What rules would you change
Bit of fun, this.
to make sport better?
So it's a bit of fun, this
Yep.
one as
Unless
well.
you come up with a rule that might get implemented.
Right. This might sound a bit strange, but I've got the F1 to start with.
Yeah.
I watched the F1 yesterday with my
just-
wife on
just
the
stop
sofa
the
with the
sport
French
altogether.
Bulldogs and a glass of red wine in between the French tennis and the Wales. Right? As soon as Hamilton sets off,
Yep.
he's won.
Mm-hmm.
He's won. He's got the best car. He's a good driver. He's won it. So F1, I do enjoy it. I do like it. Every car should be the same.
Oh, I like it.
Every car should be the same.
Test of the drivers.
Test of the driver, and for as long as it's safe, I'd have a part of the track wet. I'd have sprinklers on the
Yeah.
track. Yeah, test of if it's safe and right, where they've got slicks or whatever grade of tyre, a couple of tyre stops. But that would make it the best driver. You know, part of the track being wet, it would be entertaining.
Yeah.
It would be a great spectacle. Instead, I'm watching it yesterday, and I do love it. Hamilton goes off into the distance, game over, turn over, off you go.
I like it. I mean, the only thing that I think Anorax from Formula One would say is it's not just a test of drivers. They love the battle between the engineers. All of the data crunching and the changing of the aerodynamics and the engine and the test cells. They love all of that. I mean, for me, I'm with you, Robbie. The spectacle is worse when there is a dominant car, somebody gets it. It's processional. It's boring.
Well, so far, you said nothing to suggest that this should be a sport. You're telling me you're going to change. Right, essentially, it's a sport about cars and manufacturers, but that doesn't work. So let's have all the same car. And this is how bad Formula One is. This is the best you can do. Let's sprinkle a little bit of water on the track. Really? Why don't we just get rid of it? Why don't I've said it before? Just say we've got it wrong. It's no good.
Go to the bridge at Kiel.
There's some on telly now. There's people driving round in a track
What about this one?
in the name of entertainment.
What about in football? Because I think we've got.
So can we say Formula One can't be improved?
I think it can
It's
be.
dead in the water.
It can be.
It's gone. It's rubbish.
But you look at the MotoGP, the motorbikes. How entertaining is that?
Yeah.
It's brilliant, Fred. You might say they haven't got the same bike.
When was
but
the
it's
last
very
time you
close.
went?
To MotoGP, I went to.
Have you been?
No, I've not been, but I do watch
you ever
it.
seen it?
Is it better? I don't know. Is it better
I
live?
used to go to British Superbikes a lot. Unbelievable. My mate used to have a team in the British Superbikes.
Much more overtaking.
It's brilliant, Fred. It's much more exciting MotoGP. Football.
Yep.
You can knock me down this one. The boss already has. So, 0-0 draws in the Premier League or in football in general, no points.
Instead of getting 1 point, as
Instead
they
of
do
getting
today.
1 point. Score,
Ooh.
draw, get a point.
So to put the emphasis on scoring, trying
Just
to
more
encourage
entertainment.
Tell you what, think about how football improved when, for a win, it went from 2 points to 3 points. Massive change, improved the dynamic of the Premier League. What would be the unintended consequences?
What would be the unintended consequence was if you're mid-table, end of the season, right? You're mid-table, you got nothing to play for, and you're playing against a side who are desperately trying to stay up.
That's a fair point. Need
And
a
then
point.
there might be a local rival. You just put 11 men behind, you just ruin the game. We don't need points.
Hey, that's
they
true.
need them. Off you
That's
go,
true.
lads.
That's brilliant.
I heard that before in the office
that
somewhere.
is spot on,
That's
Freddie.
why. That's why I'm here.
I'm just throwing it out there, Matthew, for a bit more excitement, a bit more entertainment, because all we hear in recent years, park the bus.
Yep.
And that's what I'm hearing. So that was just maybe a change.
like
People might hate it. People might think good idea, Sav, for the first time ever on this podcast.
I think Freddie's just absolutely not
Nailed it.
I don't think I have. I think I've come up with a flaw for it.
Flaw for it. But do you think?
Well, I reckon it'd make it better.
Do you think-
What about golf? Why do they not enforce the time rule on golf? They wiggle, they waggle. When it's a putt, they check the line, they check the length, they check the sun, they check the atmospheric pressure, they check the wind, they walk back and forward. You stood there watching on TV thinking, when are they going to hit the ball? It's a joke.
Why are you getting aggressive?
No, carry on, Matthew.
Jim Furyk, Bernard Langer, Keegan Bradley, they take so long. By the way, on time wasting, I love Novak Djokovic, really admire him. He bounces the ball 20 times before he serves. So the TV directors now, they do a shot of the crowd, they do a shot of his wife, they do a shot of his coach, they do a shot of his opponent. He's still bouncing the ball. Then they go over to it. People forget how many times he bounces the ball because the TV directors cut it out of the edit now.
That's
it's
how
ridiculous.
good tennis is. That is how good it is. You sat watching it all day, you're watching a man bounce a ball. And that's probably the best bit of it. One of the things I get rid of tennis is them people who are like looking like they're on the toilet. You know, they're crouching and they're looking at the line.
The judges.
The line judges.
They look like retired people.
Most of them are.
Exactly, but surely this is being filmed.
What about the umpire?
Well, why don't you just...
What about the umpires in cricket? The square leg umpire. We went into this last
I've
week
gone
with
for
the,
cricket,
with the
Matthew.
jersey.
I
Go
go
on.
for cricket.
You can't improve. You can't improve on perfection.
The county championship.
Yep.
The county championship, right? Seriously, you could go to a county championship
Dozen
game
people
now,
watching.
and there's a dozen people watching. 6 will be asleep, right? Why not change the rules of county championship? Tip and run. Hit the ball, you've got to run.
What, hit and run?
Hit and run.
Oh, we used to do that, yeah.
There you go. Why not? Hit and run.
But you're saying it's
just
got a
saying.
problem to play tip and... What do you mean play tip and run?
Hit and run.
This is coming from a man
Yeah.
who showed his missus a good time yesterday by watching the Grand Prix tennis, followed by, what was it?
it's it.
Wales.
Wales. But
And
listen-
you're having a go at somebody's sport. You're
Hey,
having a go at the...
But Freddie, county cricket is not
That's what I'm
getting
saying.
the numbers
That's what I'm saying, Matthew.
that it used to.
How can you hit and run would be great. You'd have shorter games. You'd have bigger crowds. Hit the ball. You've got to run. People try and hit more 4s, hit more 6s. The games would be quicker. Listen, it might be an absolutely nonsensical idea.
It is.
They might start leaving the ball, padding it, all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah, but they can still. If
an
they're
interesting
clever.
one.
Is it?
Yeah, I quite like it.
Oh,
quite like it.
Oh, wow. Do you really?
I mean,
really?
Freddie.
Really, Matthew?
Well,
Do I like that?
yeah, I do.
I can't believe this is coming out your mouth.
Matthew, the Times journalist who's wrote Bounce and Black Box Thinking likes that, Andrew.
Yeah.
I worry about the county.
That's why he's working with us. Resurrecting his career after them shocking books. Hey, he wasn't getting booked for speaking engagements before this podcast started. All of a sudden, he's tweeting pictures with Richard Branson. Hey, he's at it all the time.
What would you change, Fred? You must have some good
What,
ones.
in cricket?
No, in any sport. Any rule changes.
In any sport, well, with the risk of going into the next subject, I'd educate footballers. I think that's a must. I think to play, you've got to have at least one GCSE. It's like, and it can't be in drama or needlework. You need one of the big ones, maths or English or something. You know, we're talking about people who now can't stand where they're told. They have to spray a line on the floor. I'm sorry, but let's have a grip. So that's football covered. Any other sports?
What about... I'll tell you one thing, a serious one in football. If a player has a pop at the referee, give them a red card.
It's supposed to happen, isn't it?
Hey,
It's
by the
supposed
way,
to-
when the managers have a go at the fourth official, constantly berating every single decision, they go with the fourth referee. It doesn't make any difference, but they will have a go. Send them to the stands. It's about time, right?
Yeah.
And what about all this grappling in the box? They said they were going to crack
They're
down on.
supposed to have cracked down on it. What other sports? What other sports we got? Think of a sport. What other sports we got?
What, darts? You can't improve on darts.
No, you can't
improve on
You
it.
can't improve in darts.
Only way you'll
at all.
improve on darts is cloning Phil Taylor.
You can't improve in
That's
darts.
the only
can you?
way.
Yeah.
Boxing. I'd stop all that chat beforehand. It's embarrassing. You're embarrassing yourself, lads.
The trash talk.
Do you know, just a serious one on boxing. Right, and I've been thinking about this, and this is serious. Is boxing not like 200-300 years ago?
What?
Is it not? We see a lot of things that
Like
are happening.
primitive?
Yeah, we watch things that happen in the world now, and everyone's on the PC brigade and all that. This is a sport. Think about it, where two men or women now are in the ring punching each other in the head
Yeah.
till they fall over.
With the objective to make the other person unconscious.
Unconscious, and they'll quite brazenly say it before the fight, I'm going to knock his lights out. Is that right? I've done it, but is it right?
Well, I have to say I struggle with it. ethically. I mean,
I enjoy it.
I mean, I've loved boxing all my life, but I have to say, I watch it now. The first time it really hit me, Fred, was I went to Bethnal Green, watched the bout, and when you're up close by the ropes and you can see the blood and you can hear the sound of a gloved fist hitting a human jaw, you suddenly think, my goodness. And then this guy got stretchered out, and within seconds, people were cheering the next people coming in. Look, I know a lot of people love boxing, and you'll get, it's easy to get criticised by saying you have a bit of a moral concern. I feel deeply ambivalent about it, for sure.
But when you've got someone on the mat at the end of a fight, completely out cold, and they're trying to bring him back, and I'm...
Yes, it's definitely questionable. Here's a serious one. Tennis. Why do people get 2 serves?
I was going to say that. One serve.
Bowling, getting out and saying, "Oh, let me have another go."
One serve. I was going to say that was my next one. Tennis, 1 serve.
Who come up with points?
But yeah,
why did you get 15? Yeah. Why get 15, 30, and then they say love? What's that about?
But in the tie-break, it's 1st to 7.
Yeah, bizarre. Hey, by the way, the only downside of having 1 serve in tennis is you would lose serve and volley. People like to do an aggressive, risky first serve and then come to the net.
You don't see much serve and volley now, Matthew.
Exactly. And I think you'd lose it altogether if you only had one serve.
I've just made a good point there, and you've just...
No, I agree with you. But you need to have...
But there's not much serve and volley now, anyway. Gone are the days of Boris Becker smashing one down, diving at the net. Remember, who else was there who serve and volley? Edberg.
Yeah, brilliant.
Brilliant serve and volley.
Henman.
Yeah, but gone are the days.
What about... Go on.
I think tennis, 1 serve, because that would stop the ball bouncing as well a little bit, would it?
Well, probably not.
You wouldn't bounce the balls.
I also think that with the 2 serves, you get that beautiful aesthetic of the ace. With only the second serve, you're unlikely to get any
when you go
aces.
to Wimbledon, the fast grass court, you see the big servers, Goran Ivanisevic. You've seen, who's that big American, John Osner? What's his name? Isner. John Isner. Fred, at Wimbledon, throw the ball up, smashes it, ace.
Yeah,
and some, they'll have 30 or 40 aces. Boring.
Well, that was...
Serves you right for going.
But it was at its worst when Sampras played Ivanisevic in the Wimbledon final.
Ace.
It was absolutely the dullest game I've ever seen. But now they've slowed the ball down. The grass is slightly slower. You do get decent rallies at Wimbledon now. By the way,
do you know why they brought in
the 2 serves in tennis?
No.
Because when tennis was started as a game all those years ago, the
real
balls...
tennis?
Do you know, I'm not sure if it was real tennis or lawn tennis, but the balls were so bad that they would say, look, if you've got a terrible ball, you better have a second chance to serve it in, otherwise we're not going to get any rallies.
That's true?
Well, that's what the producer just said. He's nodding his head vigorously.
But there's other sports which need livening up a bit, isn't there? Like the marathon. The marathon. How boring is that? Just watching people run.
How can you liven the marathon? How can you liven the marathon?
I reckon, set them off, right?
Can't wait for this.
Set them off, and then half an hour in, let some dogs go. Right? So the dogs are chasing the marathon runners, and if you don't keep up, you get bit. just keep going. Set like Rottweilers or something.
What about canoeing?
Canoeing?
How would you liven that up?
Canoeing?
Rowing.
Well, yeah.
Can you liven that
How
up?
can you liven a sport up which has got Steve Redgrave in it? You just can't. You can't. It's lively enough. Steve brings it rock and roll.
I mean, are there any games that couldn't be improved with? Are there any that you think, other than cricket, are so wonderful? I think, and you're going to disagree profoundly with this, I think tennis, the Federer-Nadal-Djokovic rivalry has been so enticing. There's not a lot that can be improved on that. It's just been marvellous.
I think 2020 cricket is brilliant.
Brilliant. Love it.
Do you?
I do. I do.
But?
There is a but, and I like it, don't get me wrong, but I'm a purist.
Yeah.
I'm a purist. The 2020 game, you watch it, each side obviously gets 20 overs, they start off fast, they have a bit of a lull in the middle, then they end fast. You know how each game's going to go. It's fine. Test cricket, it's a proper game. It's over 5 days. The intricacies, the tactics. It's like a game of chess drawn out.
Yeah.
And if you win in the
Tip
last
and
half...
run.
Shut up.
Oh,
if you win in the last half hour...
I've got
the one game which needs livening up is that one-day international cricket. Because now you've got the fastness of T20, you've got the slowness and the skill of test matches. One-day international cricket is boring. They start off with a bit of a flourish and then they just knock it round for a bit, then they have a bit of a smash at the end.
Yeah.
It's becoming a pointless game.
So tip and run, if you brought tip and run in, you'd be flying.
Tip and run? What is this tip and run with you?
Tip and run at school?
Someone said this to
Did
you.
you play cricket?
You just want to repeat it?
Did you play cricket at school?
No.
Tip and run. You got to. If you hit it, you've got to run.
Yeah.
It's
And so there's
brilliant.
loads
There's
of run out.
fielders. There's fielders. You don't think they're cotton onto it.
Well,
The thing is, it was-
These people have
it
got
was
more
in-
than an IQ of 23, unlike footballers. They'll cotton onto it.
I've got one for you. What
They're
about-
educated people.
I've got one for you. The
What do you mean, did he play cricket in school? It's like one of the all-time greats.
Didn't play at school.
I've got one for you. The most pointless rule in any sport. Guess what it is? The Duckworth-Lewis method.
Oh,
Rob,
There you go.
England won on that, didn't they, against Australia?
Rob, you're having an absolute nightmare today. The Duckworth-Lewis, you know the hours. The brains, the minds of Duckworth and Lewis have got together to come up with a formula
It's ridiculous.
which not only
It's ridiculous.
judge the end of a game and which way the result could go. It's a mathematical genius.
I watched the game.
I don't expect you to know it. It's a game of two halves. That's as far as you get.
I watched it not long ago when somebody needed, with a Duckworth-Lewis method.
Well, see, there we go. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a receding ex-footballer who can't get his words out.
But I seen that method a few years ago when...
Can you explain it to me, please?
Exactly. I can't
Explain
even
it.
explain it.
So now you're having a go at things you don't understand.
So basically, if
Welcome
it
to
rains,
Robbie's world.
if it rains, they calculate how many runs have so many overs, and they reduce the total needed in X amount of balls.
What should they do then? What should they do?
It'd be like in football. It's
What
not.
should
it'd
they
be-
do?
I'll tell you what though. It's a fair. It'd be like in football. You're 2-1 up in 60 minutes. It starts raining, and then you say, "Oh, but because you're 2-1 up and you've had that many tackles,
Correct.
you're going to win the
Matthew,
match."
no wonder your books are going down the pan with comments like that. Listen, have you heard
come
what you
on.
just said? If it starts raining in football, they stay out there.
You can't even play in the rain.
No, we can't because
Why?
it affects the surface.
It's a little bit of drizzle.
It's a summer sport.
Get your quiff wet with your thick
Why
powder in it.
why not just come back tomorrow when the weather's a bit better?
That's what they do. They do that,
Yeah,
Matthew.
but they don't. Why do they use the Douglas-Lewis
Yeah,
then?
correct. Good point,
If they
Matthew.
can come back the next day.
You played ping pong.
Hey,
Let
by
the
the
ping
way,
make the pong.
let me say
Oh, it's a
this.
bit windy in here. Turn the aircon off. The ball's moving around. Oh, for
Hey, let me
Christ's
say
sake,
this.
Matthew
On
Syed.
Test cricket, I agree with you. The way you expressed it, you know, the narrative of Test cricket, the slow building drama, and it is a terrible pity that 2020 has taken some of the attention away from what is. I mean, it's not just a sport; it is an institution. And I'm worried, 50 years' time, will Test cricket still have that mystique that it has today?
Wait there.
Go on.
So can you just explain what is the Duckworth-Lewis? I was getting...
The Duckworth-Lewis.
because people
we
might
go.
not know what
Here
it
we
is.
go.
I can't give you the equation, but
Well,
I'll tell you in
Yeah,
essence
in
what it
essence.
is. So, you have a game of cricket, one day international. Both teams get 50 overs. By some reason, not our fault, it might be inclement weather. So the rain comes down and they think, well, we can't play for an hour or two.
Yep.
So, well, if you've batted,
Yep.
say you've scored 280 in the first innings.
Yeah.
Right? So the side need 280 to win, second innings off 50 overs. Because there's a time, it goes dark,
Yep.
you
Yeah.
can't play all night.
Yeah.
So there's a time where you have to bowl these overs and finish the game.
Yeah.
So what this formula does, which the geniuses that are Duckworth and Lewis have come up with, is a formula to where, depending on how many runs you've got in the first innings,
Yeah.
once you start losing overs because of
Yes.
rain and weather in the second, this formula will bring the runs down accordingly.
Yeah.
So you could have 35 overs and it say you need 240.
But it's not fair.
But it is
For
the
the team that bats
fairest
first.
I've got to tell you,
It's not fair, 'cause the team that bats first doesn't think it's going to rain, do they?
it's so. If
Robbie, cricket is just way beyond your mental capacities. You do take everything into account. You don't just... The only thing you take into account when you get the phone call from Wales is it the end of the season or not? I've got a trip to Corfu, but with family. How dare they? How dare they? All I wanted to do was drink a strawberry daiquiri and sit on beach. Hey, and read me Mr. Men books. Hey? Instead,
I've got to say,
tell you
okay,
what.
we've got to go on to the next one. Let me just read out some of this stuff. Duckworth-Lewis,
Yeah.
if R2 is less than R1, reduce Team 2's target score in proportion to the reduction in total resources, i.e. S times R2 divided by R1. I'll tell you what, that's
simple.
one line of it.
Simple.
This is nonsense.
It's SR1. Done.
Ridiculous nonsense.
Okay. Next topic. Do you have to be intelligent
What are you laughing for?
to excel in sport? Now, I have...
Come on, Matthew. Are we really doing this? Have you not been listening to him for the past hour? We're doing this.
Past 18 shows.
I've got to tell you, I've got a strong opinion on this, and I suspect I'm going to disagree wildly with Fred. Fred, I take it you think that you don't have to be intelligent to excel in, for example, football, because very few
I'll be honest
footballers
with you,
have
I may
GCSE.
not be able to explain the Duckworth method, but I know thick people when I see them on telly. And usually they're kicking a ball. Let's be honest, I've seen it. I'll be honest with you, I don't think you do need brains. I think my intellect got in the way of my sporting career.
Interesting.
If I wasn't this clever, I'd have been a great.
I think you need brains. I think you do.
To do what?
To play sport.
I really think...
Did you get through the net? What? I don't understand this.
Okay, let me throw this your way. Let's take Wayne Rooney as an example. People say he's really... Frankie Boyle, one of his stand-up, he said, Wayne Rooney gets paid a lot of money, but he'd be happier with a tyre and rope. So he's comparing him to a monkey. How did he get married?
Orangutan.
How did he get married? Probably because I do sounds quite a lot like ooh ooh. So this is a common refrain.
That's not some of Frankie's best material.
No, it wasn't a classic. But I've looked back at Wayne Rooney's school reports. In his first maths report at primary school, it says quick to grasp new facts, fantastic mental skills. By the time he got to
his first thing at primary school, he's quick to grasp what?
New facts.
New facts. Right, milk comes from a cow. I think he was good with that one. There we go, Wayne, get your milk. Like, here, miss, where's he from? Where's he from, the milk? It's from a cow, Wayne. Oh, miss got it. Right, next.
Hang on. By the time he got to the age of 10...
Oh, he can spell his name.
No.
W-A. What's the next one, miss?
Matthew's coming for you. He's got a fair point here.
No, hang on. It said quick and confident and grasp new concepts quickly. Religious education, contributions shown to be a caring child, responds to the need of others. And my take on this is that Rooney... When he was a young kid, he only attended school for 186 days out of 320. Why? Because he was training for football. He played 3 nights a week, weekend matches. He was on the street. He was putting his life and soul into football. If he had focused on his education,
what would
I
he
have
be
not...
doing? He'd been in the country. He'd have been in number 10. Well, he might have been at the minute.
I think it's a massive category error to say because a footballer... Wayne Rooney or Robbie Savage hasn't got a university degree and can't solve simultaneous equations, it means they're not intelligent. What that is telling me is they neglected their education to focus on an incredible work ethic in football and to reach the top of a ferociously competitive global sport.
I think you have to be intelligent to play sport, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. The intelligence to grasp things, to pick things up. For, as a youngster, a coach will tell you X, Y, and Z. You can pick it up quicker than people.
Yep.
I've played sport with Freddie. I've
What
played.
did you pick up?
Well, so for instance, if you can, I see it in kids now, Freddie, and you've run under 13s cricket team and a very good cricket team, and you can see it. You can see it that some of the kids will grasp things quicker than others, and those ones will be more likely to be successful in their sport.
And by the way, I think there's a number of different types of intelligence. There's
I agree with
theoretical intelligence. Are you able to solve differential equations? Can you quote Einstein's theory of relativity? But there's practical intelligence. James Dyson, great inventor.
Hoover's.
Dual cyclone.
He's not Faison Robbie.
Yeah,
He's not Faison Robbie.
But he wasn't,
Hoover.
I just got one. I was happy.
but he wasn't like a
Hey,
theoretician.
you've got the new hairdryer as well, haven't you? Hey?
I tell you, that was an amazing
Wayne
invention.
Rooney's got nothing on you.
But you know, Matthew.
But let me just finish that off. The practical intelligence. He wasn't able to solve the equations to separate dust from air, which is what the dual cyclone vacuum cleaner does. But he got a prototype, he tested it, it didn't work, so he adapted it, and through practical trial and error learning, he created an incredible machine. That's how the Industrial Revolution happened. What you're doing when you kick a football, curling it into the top corner from 30
Hang
yards...
on a minute. Don't compare Robbie Savage kicking a football to a man who started the Industrial Revolution with an Hoover.
Right,
Because he could separate dust and... What was he doing? And Robbie
Freddie,
can kick a ball?
Freddie, you're going to be amazed at this.
I am going to be amazed.
The guy who inspired the Industrial Revolution, the steam engine, Thomas Newcomen, was a barely literate lay preacher. He wasn't able to do the mathematical equations, but he was brilliant at trying things, learning by doing. That's what you mean by kids who are able to pick up how to connect with the ball, to get the curve, to be in the right position. These are... Football is a game of the brain.
I think solving problems on the pitch as well is an intelligence.
Solving problems.
It's solving problems. It's an intelligence.
Solving problems.
So, for instance, you can be playing...
What, you run around with sums in your pockets?
Yeah, no, but you can be playing...
Well, just out of interest, what you got? What did you do educationally? You sort of pulled out early,
I got
didn't you?
7 GCSEs. So I got... I had art... PE, technical.
You did home economics, didn't you?
Technical drawing.
Yeah.
Home economics.
English language. English literature.
We might have to have a steward's inquiry on this. There's no chance.
I'll bring the
You
report
can't even
in.
say it. You can barely spell GCSE.
I got. Let me start again. PE, technical drawing. Art, English literature, English language, maths, and biology.
Not the exams you took, what you passed.
I
got
got
you turned up
4 A's and 3 B's.
Wow.
4 A's and 3 B's.
That's pretty... And how much football were you playing every
all the
week?
time, all the time. And then I went to Accrington College and got a BTEC in business studies while playing football.
Wow.
So I got that as well.
See, this doesn't surprise me. I think you are. I mean, Freddie's going to hammer me for this. I think you're very bright.
I'm clever as well because...
Did you just say Did you just say?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
These are the people tell you, Rob.
But I think
You know why I'm clever?
I think I'm quite intelligent and quite clever because there's people out there who are far more intelligent, who are far more organised, who are far more well educated. But I'm here doing this because I've used my intelligence and my, cleverness to form a career when I might.
It's not even a sentence.
You're not using this
It's
podcast.
not even a sentence.
People think I'm kidding them, but I must have an intelligence and the sharpness
No, you've
about
just
me
been
to
found
be here.
out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
The pretense is over, Rob. You've just outed yourself.
Freddie, so what
Is that not a fair point?
I totally agree with you. I think that you've navigated your way
Correct,
through your post-football
intelligent.
career brilliantly. And not just... OK, I'm going to throw this in. Freddie's going to hammer you, but I'll throw this in.
Yeah.
This podcast... Who is the person who's come up with many of the best topics that we've discussed?
No.
Who goes and checks the Twitter feed? Who's on the phone to me and Fred and the producer? I mean, Freddie calls you the executive producer.
That's a fair point.
So
fair
you are
point.
all over it, and I think that, by the way, is initiative. It's being proactive. That's the kind of intelligence of the James Dyson, the Industrial Revolution.
Me and James Dyson.
Beck,
You and Stephen Hawkins. You and
Freddie,
Steve.
what about education? I know. Look, you're
Savage is my hero.
Go
I
on,
wish
Fred.
I was as clever as Robbie Savage.
Come on.
His punditry is from a different universe.
Ask him now.
But what did you do at school? Did you sort of drop out completely, or did you stick at it?
I was. I don't like to bang on about it. I was a straight A student
Were you?
up until being 15 when I started getting paid to play cricket.
Really? Honestly?
So you were nailing
yeah.
it. What, maths, English,
Everything.
science, the works?
Yeah.
I'm not at all surprised by that.
Yeah. What?
Well, there
I
you
struggled
go.
a bit with needlework, but who doesn't?
But why
there
do you
you
say
go.
why do you say your This was really interesting. You said
Yeah.
your intellect got in the way of you being an even more successful cricketer. What do you mean by
I
that?
thought about it a bit too much.
Uh-huh.
I'd sooner be a simpleton like Rob. Just get on with it.
You overcomplicated
because
things.
I was and then I was about 15. I started getting paid to play cricket. Didn't really go to school. Didn't bother. And then coasted through. Ended up with 9 GCSEs, B's and C's. And then, yeah. I think the intellect thing was you do overthink it.
Yeah.
At times. I play with people, and I'm not saying I'm a massive intellect, but I did think about things. And when I didn't think, I was a better player than when I tried to dissect things and go through.
See, people talk about David Beckham. When you hear the comedians take the mick out of the way he speaks and coming across as quite thick. He's one of the most intelligent men out there, I think.
I agree.
for him to achieve what
Shall I
he's
tell you what I
achieved.
think it is?
No.
It's class prejudice. Because you have a rower who goes on TV, and because they've been to a private school and they have a different accent, people say, oh, how wonderful they are. Aren't they such great ambassadors for our nation? Then you have Wayne Rooney or David Beckham who speak with different accents because they're from a working class background. People associate that with being thick when they're deeply intelligent. And moreover, they've come through hardship and poverty up against so many other people. They've shown initiative and resilience. And I think there is a real problem. I think we see it in, footballers are overpaid. We don't say that about Hollywood actors who have been to Eton because we think that they speak with the right accent. I think that a lot of the prejudice against the intellectual ability of footballers is basic class warfare.
I don't think intellect is a big thing for a sportsman. One thing which I think is more important, and I'm not quite sure how to describe it, is being streetwise.
Yeah.
Streetwise. Where you look at someone like Steve Armisen, right? And I don't know if you ever went to school with him. However, he's so streetwise. He is so on it. And he thinks differently. And I mean, we used to get these lads who'd been to Cambridge and they'd been to posh school and that. And they didn't get it. They didn't get it. They would analyse everything within an inch of its life. And you talk about knowing what to do on a field. There's a cricket. You need a cricket brain. You need to read a game.
A cricket brain, a football brain.
You watch a batter. You need to sense what he's going to do if you're bowling at him. When you're facing someone as a batsman, you're looking for tells all the time. You're not guessing, but you've got it in your mind what's going to happen in the field. Just moving yourself a little bit, not waiting for the captain or sensing if someone's going to hit it to you. So if you're on a run chase, breaking it down into targets. So there's different...
Being strategic.
Different ways of thinking.
That's what I'm saying on a football field.
We have a laugh about it, but Wayne Rooney and these guys, you look at the serial performers, can't be daft.
Yeah, right.
They can't be.
I'm so glad you say that because I've seen people who are immensely talented, table tennis players, you won't know them, but because they haven't had that intellect, that streetwise, that ability to make the most of their potential, which is such a difficult thing to do. They've completely flunked. In my opinion, they've been too stupid to make it as top class. You must have seen this in football and cricket.
But I think the word intelligence and a football brain, a cricket brain, a table tennis brain, I think the common denominator with that, you can have that, but I think the main thing is hard work. I think if you've got an intelligence and if you've got a football brain, cricket brain, if you add that to hard work, desire, dedication, you've got half a chance.
But I think the intelligence comes before the hard work.
Yeah.
The intelligence, the intelligent thing to do is put the hard work in.
Yeah.
And from someone who's experienced both sides through my career, we're not putting the hard work in to them putting it in. The intelligent bit comes through because if you're going out, we've done that Duckworth-Lewis equation, which no one understands, right? But this one's easy. If you have 10 pints a night, a curry, and don't train, the equation is pretty simple. You're not going to perform.
But you did.
I didn't for a period. And then I got my head down and started training.
And performed better.
But everything, whilst I was messing about and not doing it right, everything I was telling was, this isn't working.
Yeah.
But it did work, though.
It didn't initially. Then I had to get my head down and start training and doing proper.
And by the way, what I meant when I said football is a brain game, people say he's got a good right foot. There's nothing about Lionel Messi's right foot that is that different from anyone else walking on the streets of Salford Quay.
It's bigger, I reckon.
Exactly.
What
it is, or his left foot. It's the way the brain controls the foot to create perfect timing. It's the way the brain controls the body for the first touch. It's the way the brain measures the number of people around him so he can pick out the perfect pass and position it. So I think it's been a real mistake to talk about football as a physical game. It is a brain game. All the great players had incredibly rich, amazing... I'll tell you one thing. Google robot football and you'll see how far artificial intelligence is with their sophisticated
You've got too much time on
algorithms.
your hands.
From what...
Do you watch virtual dog racing as well? I'm going to play devil's advocate here. These are some things that footballers have said.
Yeah, go on.
All right, these are things footballers said. And I love this man, Kevin Keegan. Do you know what he said? They're the second best team in the world and there's no higher praise than that. Well, Kevin, there is. There isn't there, let's be honest. If you're the second best team in the world, there is higher praise than that. Here we go. We got this one here. Stuart Pearce. I can see the carrot at the end of the tunnel. I can see a carrot at the end of a tunnel. Here we go. We got another one here. Alan Shearer. Right. We haven't been scoring goals, but football's not just about scoring goals. It's about winning. But surely, correct me if I'm wrong, you need to score goals to win at football. Here we go. I got another. Oh, this one here from a golfer, my favourite. Greg Norman's an Aussie, and he's an Aussie.
Yep.
The great white shark.
Yeah. Hello to my parents, especially my mother and father. You're telling me sportsmen are clever.
Oh, God.
There's one here from Phil Neville. Phil Neville, I love a Phil Neville quote. I love a Phil Neville. This is when he was commenting on a couple of football teams. The Brazilians were South American and the Ukrainians would be more European. Really, Phil? None from cricketers. They're too clever.
Tell you what, though, I bet you if you were to get a list of politicians' crazy phrases, you would get some ridiculous ones there too.
But can I just ask this? You know when they say, Matthew, because you're more into the psychology, so I watch my little boy play football now. Physically, he's not as strong as the others. He's not as quick. But what I hear people saying, he's got a football brain because he can see a pass before a lot of people.
Yep.
He can
see. He wants to thank his mum for that.
He can see things developing.
Yeah, like Sheringham was so good at that.
And I'm sitting there, and I can see it as well. And I wasn't the brightest. Okay, I done well, but I can see there's intelligence in life and intelligence in politics or intelligence in getting A stars. But I think in sport, you have an intelligence in your sport. So the football brain is what is
Let
the
me tell you,
football brain?
I genuinely think you get a lot of kids at school. They get straight A's. They get a first-class degree.
No common sense.
But when they go to their first interview and they go into a job for the first time and they're waiting for life to happen to them, they need to be much more active to have that ability to say, we're going to seize these opportunities. We're going to be streetwise. We're going to take the initiative. These are massively important qualities, and I think we downgrade them when we talk so often about, oh, this person's really bright because he knows how to recite the Duckworth-Lewis method.
I think as well, intelligence gets lost a little bit. Everyone judges intelligence on academic stuff.
Exactly.
GCSEs, A-levels, degrees. And you were saying the other day, like, he went to Jersey last week and you did that Q&A at a dinner, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you said you was nervous because you've got all these captains of industry in the room and all these people who've done all this business and they've earned X amount of money.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to admit, Rob, they're coming to listen to you.
Yeah.
Who's the intelligent one? No, you're not. Yep. I'm not coming to listen to some fella who's made an Hoover or some bloke who's done this, that, and the other. They've all turned up to listen to you. Who's the intelligent one?
I was because we're talking about that. I was in this room and I was so nervous, such a bag of nerves, because I don't do question answers. Because when you're in a room with such successful people, I'm thinking, why am I there? Not they're going to look down on me, but I'm just worried because they are all successful. They're all great people, but I just felt being there was like, not look down on me, but I wasn't intelligent enough. But there was one common denominator in that room. I was in my pals, and I'd done the question answers, and there was one common denominator with all those successful people behind it. And I said it in my question answers. My wife, who's been about wives, who supported me all the way through my career, in that room with all the successful businessmen, their wife or their partner, who enabled them to do what they do. So behind every great man, there's a
Are you referring to yourself as a great man?
But every successful man, there's a great woman,
and vice versa.
Yeah, and vice versa.
And by the way, and often you have marvelous families too.
Yeah,
parents or coaches have nurtured you and helped you to develop. You always need those pathways, and they're often given to you by others. It's a great way to.
I should be good then. Both my wives are behind me.
Which one was the better kisser? Yay! See you later, Fred.
That's all. Thank you for joining us on Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy podcast. There's plenty more topics coming up next week. There's 2 more episodes to go. I'm Freddie Flintoff, and I'm just jogging on right now.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you for listening. You can download the podcast for extended versions of all the topics we covered on this week's show at the 5 Live website and all the usual podcast places. Please use the hashtag FredSavSide to get in touch through the week. If you could leave a review on iTunes and give us a rating, that would be great. We really appreciate everyone who's done that already. We'll be back at the same time next week. But for now, from all of us, goodbye. Shall I go first?
Vice versa.
To hear more on what rules... To hear more on what rules we'd change
rules? Rules? To hear? Who's to
you
hear?
got to go, Tim. To hear more on what rules we'd change to make sport better, please download the podcast. But next, we moved on to this.
If you want to hear more...
Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy.
Thank you for downloading the Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy podcast. If you like what you hear, then why not have a look at what else 5 Live podcasts have to offer at bbc.co.uk/5live.